This is the Afro Perspective Podcast, the home of over-opinionated young voices.
Come on, Zoe.
Mr. Frederick, Miss
Microaggressive racism. So, the definition of what?
Carry on. So, be up to nothing.
Definition of microaggression is a term used for brief and commonplace daily, verbal, behavioral, and environmental indignities, whether intentional or unintentional, that communicates hostile, derogatory, or negative attitudes towards stigmatized or culturally marginalized groups. So,
Makes sense?
I think they complicated that. If I'm honest, they could have said we were struggling.
You read it a bit fast as well.
I think.
Right, so let's give a textbook example of what might be classed as microaggressive racism. Taking it to the media.
Oh, okay.
So, give us the synopsis on the situation with my
your
future wife.
Your future wife?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. Did she know you exist?
Nobody ever knows.
Huh?
Did she know you exist?
The amount of proposals you've been trying.
I just want to check that she knows you exist.
You guys are bad.
Anyway, we're talking about Yewande and Lucie.
Yewande from Love Island.
From Love Island and Lucie. It's been posted that, well, it looks like...
So Lucie made a statement basically saying that Yewande bullied her.
Yeah.
And then Yewande clapped back. Have you got the text?
Yeah, I've got this. Well, yeah, you refused to call me by my name because you find it too hard to pronounce. Now you want to say that I bullied you.
Was this when she was in Love Island?
This is when they were in Love Island, yeah. So she's been holding this in and then she decided to come out with it on social media. So Yewande's come back and said, you refused to call me by my name. You suggested to call me why?
Here's my issue with this immediately before we get any deeper. Culturally, this isn't like you using the English letters in a different way. So if you're asked to pronounce something in Russian or from a different African country, that, you know, you may be asked for your mouth to make sounds that it's not used to making. Yeah? Mm-hmm. Sean Ndebele being a very good example of that. Yeah? Cool. Yewande.
That's a simple name.
It's textbook English.
Okay.
So where...
Let's bring it closer to home.
You can see why she would be annoyed with that, because it's like, well, what are you doing? Like, you're being ignorant.
So when we bring it closer to home, my name is Tinashe.
Hi.
Yeah.
And I found that most of my 20s or even much less in my late teens, when in workplace environments, whenever I started working somewhere or whatever, I'd introduce myself and people would normally straight away say, oh, can I just call you T or whatever, because your name's difficult to pronounce. My name's Tinashe.
Yeah.
And the spelling is very simple. It's not the hardest name to read.
Tinashe is very easy to say.
And I kind of played along with it. I kind of went along with it because I got to a point where I couldn't be bothered. I couldn't be bothered to have to try to teach somebody how to pronounce my name. And funny enough, I've actually got that from black people as well.
I've witnessed it.
Yeah.
And I went up the wall about it because I couldn't believe what I was witnessing.
Yeah, it's literally like...
Why are you letting him get away with that? And you're like,
yeah, so I've met a lot of people where I've had to say, yeah, my name's Tinashe, and then 2 minutes later they're like, what's your name again?
No, but that's different.
Yeah, which I get it.
To me, because they're two different issues. So if I hear an unfamiliar name, I might not remember it the first time you tell me. Yeah, it's not whatever I'm used to. I don't have a problem with that. I have a problem with you not attempting to say.
Yeah, so you made the conscious effort to remember it and at least know how to pronounce it properly.
Yeah, my issue is you're not. If you come across to the England, or you're even born here and you know that your name is relatively complicated, you will know that already. Like, Tinashe is not a hard name to say. So yeah, we're going to use your name all day. It's not a hard name to say. So it's like, you're almost being ignorant by not saying it. You understand? Can I call you T? It's like, well, no, my name's Tinashe. Like,
I literally allowed people to call me T, Tintin, whatever. And then I think it was more in my late 20s. I kind of questioned. I got fed up with it. I questioned myself, like, why am I allowing this?
Yeah.
And then I kind of just nipped it in the bud at work. I was like, can you call me Tinashe, please? And funny enough, everybody learned to pronounce it correctly.
Very quickly as well, I bet.
Put it on their
Very quickly, because I put it on the toes like, no, my name's not T, my name's not Tintin, my name's Tinashe, and can you learn to pronounce it? Whereas before, I'd be more, if somebody says, yeah, can I just call you T, or, oh, your name's hard to pronounce, or whatever, I'd just kind of play along with it. It almost put me in an awkward place where I try and accommodate somebody.
Yeah.
You know why that is though, don't you? Yeah. Exactly. That goes back to what we were discussing last week, and you're almost kind of shrinking yourself down in order to not make other people feel uncomfortable and just get on with your day job. When in fact, you shouldn't be having to deal with that in the first place. Like, I shouldn't have to be dealing with you not saying my name correctly just because it's unusual to you. Not hard to say. Yeah. Just it's 3 syllables, for goodness sake. Yeah. You could go to a 4-year-old and say, can you say Tin-a-she?
And they get it.
And they will get it. So you're almost being plain ignorant, but because of you not wanting to, I don't want to speak for you, but from what it looks like from my understanding is you don't want to become across as that confrontational, angry black man. You're almost allowing it.
If my name was complicated, I probably would have done the same thing and be like, oh, just say S. Just because.
Yeah, but his name's so complicated. That's my issue.
If it was a case of I had a hardish name, I would have probably done the same thing just to make myself just to fit in and just to make other people feel comfortable. But then we always do this, and it's sad, but it's true.
Should you do it though?
No.
And then are you taking into consideration what stress that's actually putting on you? Because it must be annoying. It's not something I've really had because my name's Anton, so it's not really...
I'm Charlene.
Yeah, you guys...
Simple name. Even the surname.
No, simple. But is the name Leona any harder than saying Tinashe?
I think it's... Tinashe it's just not an English name.
Mm-hmm.
But that's why I'm saying it's ignorance, because I know I keep repeating myself, but you're not saying anything hard. You're not asking to mix 2 consonants together, that we're not used to. You understand what I'm saying to you? You know, you get in other languages that there'll be a constant where there shouldn't be one in the English language.
I've had so many variations of my name. I've had
Tinashe,
Tanish, Tanisha. I've had literally, fam. I have had like the amount of times.
Be careful, you get a new name in
the Tinasha. I think to myself, are you not reading what's in front of you? It's one of them ones. And a lot of black people that have quote unquote irregular names, you know, Anton. You know, there's a lot of white boys called Anton.
There are a lot of white boys.
Charlene is probably not typical.
Not too many. No, there's not that many.
Especially
everyone who I know is everybody and every.
Charlene, yes.
Yeah, but we're in England.
Yeah, in England.
Every Charlene I know is black.
I know a couple.
But no, I think I'm not even saying from them reading it, because reading is down to interpretation. So I can understand you getting it wrong. From when you introduce yourself and say, yo, my name is Tinashe. And even your surname is not really difficult to say. I've heard other names come out of your country which are significantly harder to say.
Which I can get that. Yeah. So we have got some complex
somebody that I was seeing, and I couldn't say her first name. And I'm not ignorant. I just couldn't say. My mouth does not move in that way to say her name.
What did you do in them? Like... No,
but she had another name anyway.
Okay, so you used those.
She had another name anyway, so it wasn't really too much of an issue.
Right.
But she used to tease me for all the time. But it was to say that name, you have to make a sound that is not in the English language whatsoever. To say your name.
Here's the thing.
Go on.
Right. You got patois.
Yeah.
White people can learn patois and master it.
Yes.
Japanese people can learn patois and master it.
Yeah. You can learn anything you want
You
to
can learn
Yeah,
anything
yeah.
if
Language
you
is
really
one of those
care. If
things.
you really
Yeah,
bother,
yeah.
right?
So
Pronunciations, tones, etc. It's literally down to paying attention.
So it's laziness and
It's
ignorance.
Like I learned to talk on the mic the way that I do just from listening and paying attention. And because I communicate with Jamaicans a lot, sometimes it just becomes easy because I'm listening to how you. I think there's a lot of value in somebody's tone and language and accent.
Almost unlocks people, making a bit more comfortable, and you get a different. I don't know. You get a different view on communication when you speak to somebody in the way that they are.
In the way that they speak, yeah. So okay then,
But that's only one aspect. But
that's just one. That's just one example. So Zoya, give us an example where you've experienced what might be perceived as microaggressive racism, and how do you? Let's just start with the example.
My example is I always get told that I look angry, or
That's a good one, actually.
I come across as, I'm not going to say nothing to Charlene because she might get angry. She might say something aggressive, or I've been told that I come across very aggressive to other races, not amongst my own people, but a lot of times at work. Oh, you look scary. What does that mean? Can you explain?
Do you ever get?
What does that mean?
God.
But I just get vexed.
Oh my god!
And then I do come across scary because now you've said it.
Because now you pissed
I'm
me
pissed
off.
off. Like, what do you mean? Can you explain it? The amount of times I've asked people to just explain, I don't know, you just look hard. What does that mean?
Microaggressive. That is microaggressive racism.
And
Have you tried to understand why they feel that way?
I don't care.
I already
no,
know
I
that.
haven't. Sorry, no, I haven't. I just think you're just rude. Is it just because I'm the only black person in the room, so you're just saying I look
What
hard?
is it about you, about your appearance?
You
think
tell
it's your
me, do you think so?
appearance, or is it how you express yourself?
Charlene,
This is without me
Charlene,
speaking, though.
Charlene,
They just say I look.
you're looking angry right now.
I hate both of you, I swear to God. Because I'm triggered, I'm pissed.
Calm down, calm down.
I hate you both. But I think that's the most common one that I experience on a regular. Even
a
in
lot,
school.
a lot of. I think this is one of the benefits of. I'm talking out of context here because I don't actually know, but maybe one of the benefits of being in an environment in the school system where it is predominantly black people, because you'll find what you've just said happens to a lot of black people in education. Happened to me. You can almost quote unquote say the same thing and act in the same way as your white counterpart, and it will be taken differently because of how they view you. So it's not actually what it is.
We're more animated.
Well,
Sometimes,
a lot,
but do you know what changed it for me? Was when I would say it. I went to court for a driving scenario, and me and this said guy, we both were on the same thing, and I watched this guy literally bamboozle the people that were in front of him. I'd never seen anyone. It's like, do you know when you watch white kids swearing at cops in America?
And how do you get away with it?
I was watching, and I knew that if I had behaved in the same manner,
You would have got.
I probably would have been in handcuffs.
would have been in
I
jail.
couldn't believe what I was watching. It's just I think there isn't too much you can do about it because it's how the person perceives you. So it's almost down to the racism inside of the person.
Yeah.
So they have a perceived judgment on you already. So if you raise your voice a bit more and you do become a bit more animated, you're already on cold black. Cold black, we're already facing a cold black situation, which it may not be the case. You might be pretty cool, but they're not seeing it that way. And that's kind of how they view you and kind of the racism inside them that's making them do that. Do I think we're more animated as a people overall? Yeah, a little. Yeah, well, actually a lot.
We are loud.
Yeah, yeah, a lot. But does that mean you're necessarily any more angry, or you can be labeled as the aggressive person? And I think the other way where it changes when I heard, sorry, bro. My brother got it in school, and me and my brother are very different characters. So if you call, oh yeah, Anton is loud, he's aggressive, he's red. You know what? Cool.
You accept that.
Anybody who meets my brother is like, he's just not really like that. And without him really saying anything, they kind of put him in exactly the same box they put me. So
it's just sad.
That to me then proves it's okay. So that's not me. It's not anything I could have done about it. That's the perception that you have of us as a people. And it's disheartening if you go through the school system like that. And it can also be disheartening at work. You're trying to get on with your day job, and then you've got people kind of trying to put you in this box of the angry black woman when you're just trying to do your job.
So Zoya, what about your hair?
What do people ask me to touch my hair?
Yeah, have you experienced that whole hair scenario in the workplace?
Well,
You're getting your hairstyle.
You've changed your hair again. How long did it take you?
How do them comments make you feel?
I don't feel a way about people asking me about my hair, because I mean, if I was from,
Did you go to school here?
yeah, yeah, I did.
Did they always ask you to touch your hair?
No.
No. How long does it take? Does it hurt?
I know they
can
ask,
I touch it?
No, but no.
The counter argument to that would be curiosity, because it's something new. So asking the question.
What I was about to say is, if I was them, I'd probably ask the same questions. I'd probably be like, oh my gosh, how long did it take? Because they can just get up and go in the morning. Obviously, we can't do that, but I'm fed up explaining it. After 2 times, I'm done.
You think that whole conversation is genuine, though?
No, not all the time. Sometimes, yeah, but not all the time.
What? Asking...
The whole hair conversation. Now, everybody's...
It's annoying.
It's annoying if it's the same people asking me every day. Because it's like, I told you last time.
No, but do you think it's genuine? What do you mean?
What do they want to know it for?
You think they're asking you to make general conversations? What's the benefit?
My workplace is so small. I don't even. We don't force conversations if there's none to be had. I don't work in a big environment with enough people, but sometimes it can be a bit forced. It's like, are you just asking me for the sake of asking me? What are you gaining?
I think the red card is, and again, I have to go back to my school days. It doesn't tend to happen so much now that I'm a fully grown adult. Is people just in your hair. Yeah. Obviously, in the workplace now, with the rules that are in place, I don't think you could do that if you even wanted to, because you'd be brought up on the charge real quick. But
wow.
Do you know what I'm actually going to cite as another example of microaggressive racism is when people try and match your tone.
Oh, Nashi, you're really shooting tonight, yo, brother.
You know, like
match your tone. Sometimes I'm not even on that tone.
Where I'm out, and I never really used to like to. I don't like going on work dues and that kind of shit. You know what I mean? I don't like it. I'm very antisocial anyway. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, man, paint a great picture of yourself. Continue.
I'm an introvert. I don't care. Right. So I'm on a work due, and you know I've gone out with my work colleagues, about 5 or 6 white girls, pretty white girls. I'm sat at the table in a pub. I don't like pubs anyway. And I told them,
what was you doing in a pub?
I forced myself to do it. Then comes this white dude, starts chatting to the gal them, and he's talking to the gal them normal. How is he talking to me?
Yo, bro.
Wagwan, bro.
Yeah. And now you triggered, innit?
Yeah.
And you've not spoken to him like that either.
I've not spoken to you like that.
Period.
Why are you assuming that I speak this way? You know. So now I'm being petty to Nashi. I'm talking to him like, how you doing, mate? You know what I mean? You know, I'm talking very posh, like. But again, it is another example of microaggressive racism. And I think the bigger problem about microaggressive racism is growing up, we've always been told about racism, but we've not been told about racism's little baby.
Yeah.
The death of 1,000 cuts.
Yeah, the death of 1,000 cuts. It's never been intellectualized. If you look on Google, there's not much literature that really explains.
It was tough, though.
Yeah. So, you know, and
I think it's something that's relatively new, isn't it? People
it's not new. I think the understanding of it and intellectualizing it is new.
Sorry, I apologize. Yeah, that's what I meant.
But the actual microaggressive racism is something that Black people face on a daily basis, and it's sad because even it starts from grassroots. Our kids experience microaggressive racism on a daily basis. And because it's never been intellectualized, there's never been any focus on microaggressive racism. We as a people do not know how to deal with it.
Yeah, that's a fact.
Like, how do you deal with microaggressions?
Oh, now I love it. Oh, now, but it's only
Okay,
It's now.
all right, so
only now.
all
As a
right.
kid, I'm not gonna lie. I'm not gonna go on like I'm like this massive savior. As growing up in this system, I just used to ignore it because what do you do? Because if I rise to how it's making me feel, when it's all said and done, I'm gonna look like I overreacted to this little cut, that I got. And
All right, I'll give you an example. In my last job, so this is when I just bought my car.
Oh yes.
Right?
but that car,
Yeah, the BMW. And one of my work colleagues
sound like my
said
chain
to
coming
me,
to work.
one of my work colleagues said to me, "You look like a drug dealer in that car."
What does that mean? Explain yourself.
So I was like, "What do you mean?" Now,
I'm glad you said, "What do you mean?" By the way, what do you mean?
Yeah, what do you
is
mean?
the best thing you can ever say.
Now, I was very excited about that situation. I took it to my line manager, explained the situation to him. I explained how it made me feel. And fortunately, I had a good relationship with him. He asked me how I wanted to resolve it. And I said to him, you know what, let me have a one-on-one with my colleague and explain to her how she made me feel and how it's inappropriate. So we booked her an office.
How did I not know this?
I told you this, bro.
They turn up.
Yeah, she turned up, Now, she's one of them...
Poor woman.
No, this is the thing, Anton. No, this is the thing.
She's got an education about life.
She was... No, check this. This woman her best friend's black.
Go on.
So one of her counter arguments, or her first counter argument was,
I'm not racist. My best friend's
I'm not racist.
Black.
My best friend's black. And
that's why I'm rolling my
I'd
eyes.
say this to my best friend and she wouldn't feel no type of way. So
I'm not your best friend.
Right.
Your best friend needs to talk
and
to
I
you.
then kind of addressed it to her. And it wasn't a hostile conversation.
Right.
It was the first time that I took microaggressive racism
To the next
and dealt with it in...
You do it in a really good way.
Good.
Yeah, because after that, there wasn't no awkwardness or anything. She knew where she stood and she knew not to run them jokes with me.
Okay, so there's two things here. One, do you think that the word itself, microaggressive racism, has helped black people to tackle microaggressive racism?
There's not
And
much.
two,
There's not enough. There's not enough focus on that word. There's not enough action on that word. There's not enough literature and education on that.
Okay.
So when we talk about racism, nobody really ever. There's not much. Even BLM, you never really hear them talk about
microaggressive stuff,
microaggressive racism.
which, if you live in
Which is the
England,
racism that
oh Lord,
you know that subtle.
if you live in England, that's the racism
that
you're gonna get.
subtle
Yeah, yeah.
racism.
It's given
that
out
whole-
every day, all the time.
Yeah, you're well spoken for a black man.
I'm well read for a black man. Yeah.
Anything.
Bro, I had somebody in the office tell me, I can't believe you read.
It's no. Come on.
Yeah.
Bro, I was I was livid. They said to me,
What?
Listen.
Until you're making up stories.
I'm not. Listen, bearing as I've said in the last podcast that literally everybody in my department, in the department I work in, is educated to degree levels usually, and they use like maths degrees and creme de la creme stuff. So for the certain person to turn around and say that to me, it's like, well, I'm like, that I have a degree. I'm not saying having a degree makes sure that you read, but I have to be at least a little bit well read.
Yeah.
So how dare you?
Yeah.
But I turned around, all I said is, what was the words you used initially? What do you mean?
Yes.
And what I love, what do you mean?
Again, how many times have you heard about black barristers getting assumed?
As the person that.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
I'm trying to not let that trigger me anymore, but it's disgusting. It's like you are forming an opinion based on racist views, and it's not acceptable. But microaggressive racism is very, very dangerous because if somebody calls you the N-word, or it's very direct with racism.
like that racism.
Well, it's I'm not saying I like that racism either, but it's because it's so direct.
You know where you
everybody
stand.
knows where they stand, and it's easy enough to deal with.
I'd actually have I'd have a Klansman friend.
You always say foolishness like this,
So you could just
What? So you can dissect their mind, find out their ins and outs.
I would sit down.
he's saying
and have a
at least
very
he's
good
going to respect
conversation
you're holding your own in
with a KKK member. I
Somebody-
want that conversation.
somebody my father, when he was in the forces, he met somebody who was openly racist.
Yeah.
Okay.
And he said they sat down and they had a discussion. At the end of the discussion, it just went their separate
Was he
ways.
less racist after?
No, he wasn't less
conversation?
racist. My dad was like, he was like this, and I'm like this, and we just knew to stay away from each other, and that was the end of it. And I was like, okay, I think with direct racism, you know where you stand. So good or bad, or however bad, it's easier to deal with, and it's less mental in that capacity. With microaggressive racism, that you kind of feel like a little bit of a baby moaning about certain things.
The problem with microaggressive racism is you don't know how to. It's almost like it's so
we do
subtle.
know how to deal with it. We're just choosing not
when
to.
I say you don't know how to hold somebody accountable for microaggressive racism,
I disagree.
Because of the political correctness around it.
I disagree. I think that
when I say accountability, getting somebody into trouble for saying somebody.
Oh yeah, that part is true. But I think that as a people, because we are so afraid. So the workplace and the school place is a great example. The institutions are usually where this stuff takes place. Because outside of that, I'm not really hearing it too tough. You're so afraid of being the person that is causing trouble that you just let it slide. Now, learning what do you mean and actually challenging it in a verbal way that's non-aggressive, for me, it's been the best thing ever. I've pulled people up, bruh. I've heard somebody talk about ethnic minorities moving into the area and it never used to be like this and moaning about it. And I've just said, what do you mean? Yeah. And then you'll watch the person who said what they said so comfortably, with so much privilege initially,
they don't know
start to realize that they've just messed up and then start trying to backtrack. And at that point, you start just peppering them with questions.
I think it's only within the last 5 years. I started saying, what do you mean?
Yeah.
Before, I just used to be like.
So what do you think is the best approach to microaggressive racism?
Questioning and challenging.
Bringing it up.
But not beating people up for it.
Do you think it compromises your comfort zone, especially in the workplace? Because now you're already assumed to be this aggressive Charlene.
And
before
now
you even open your mouth.
I'm approving them, right?
Question somebody. Yeah. They go red in the face.
Yeah.
And then Charlene's a bully.
Here's the issue. I agree with you 100%. The issue is if you don't, then this is why I say black people are partially to blame. Yeah, in the sense that you need to be challenged. So if you're doing this kind of thing, you're making these kind of statements, you're telling people, I didn't think you would read. Well, because bro, I've never got over that, you know. It's not. I don't think you could read. Just I don't think you. It was talking about some books or whatever, and I mentioned an author, and you know the ones there in it because I read. It's like okay,
yeah, it's like that's surprise.
Yeah. Why are you surprised? You need to be challenging it because you need to be helping the next generation out and the next generation and the person that moves into the department after
Anton, let me again play the
go on.
devil's advocate.
Shoot.
Do you empathize with their ignorance?
Not so much anymore.
No, but when I say do you empathize with their ignorance, I mean ignorance is usually born off narratives and it's born off behaviors and behavioral patterns.
Yeah.
And
yeah, so I understand.
In another sense, right, if we're going to be honest with ourselves.
Go on.
What percentage of the black community is well-read and
but they don't know that
intellectually inclined?
But they don't know that either.
Yeah, but the stats, when you look at certain stats and when you look at certain behaviors that are obviously highlighted
in the West, right? Because we're not talking about in the continent. And this is my issue. Yeah, this is my issue.
So that perception that black people don't read are generally illiterate.
Where do you get that from if you don't know black people? That's my only issue.
It's not the fact that it's not that. It is that. All right, look at the education system.
Okay.
It celebrates Isaac Newton. It celebrates Charles Dickens. It celebrates all these great white authors.
Oh yeah, of course. Yeah, you can't be angry. You can't necessarily be angry with somebody for having a perception.
Yeah, so again, it's born from perception.
And the brain is naturally lazy, so it tends to generalize.
No, there's that and images as well. So the images, what black intellectuals are out there? Great black intellectuals that are celebrated in history.
Yeah, it's because we're in the westernized world. They're not celebrating history.
This is the point. So the assumption that black people are generally not articulate, intelligent, well-read.
I said it goes back to institutional racism, you know. You can't even blame
again, Anton, you know me, I like to
person.
empathize and understand how people perceive things and process things and, you know, comprehend and conclude. Rather than,
which is where even more important for you to then pull it up in the work and school place, regardless of how you feel that it's going to put you. They already think you're angry and black in it. Yeah, so it's you're not winning that fight. Yeah, it's going to take you 20 years for them to say, oh, you know what? Yeah, Charlene's never actually kicked off. She's actually all right.
And they'll be like, oh, I thought you were faced it the first time I saw you, Charlene.
Yeah. Yeah. No, they wouldn't use that word. However, it's our job to challenge that, and it shouldn't be, but
do you know one of the things that I have started to say recently, which I don't even know if I should.
Has there been some growth? Go on then.
When they say stuff like that, when there is a bit of microaggressive racism,
who's they?
Work.
When people.
We're talking about work, because I don't hang around with said people outside of work. So
okay,
what
so
I'm
work
saying
people.
is when I'm at work.
So you ain't got no friends.
Can you not? I don't like
social circles. Well, man, gonna do
this is bullying. How people comment. Okay, shut up. Get off me.
Well, man.
I have started to say to people at work, why you lot are gonna
go and land.
If they say stuff to me, a lot of times now I'm like, it's okay, that's just your ancestors speaking. I literally have started saying that at work.
You do not say
wow, that's all the way on the other side.
I literally have, because
to be fair, no, she can.
I have. Why not?
She can.
No, a lot of times I'm like,
that could get you in trouble though. You gotta be careful.
It's just your ancestors.
That's why we
speaking through you.
I've learned something new now, but I don't know if I'll be busting out of work. Yeah.
But why not?
How do they respond to that though?
Yeah.
And then they just walk off. And that's the end of the conversation.
Yeah, but
what do you want me to do?
You wonder why you think this angry.
I don't care. I've not been saying nothing for 10 plus years. Now you're pissing me off.
But
someone has to say something. Come on. Let's stop it.
But you need to be sparking thought. So, I shouldn't say you need to, because it's not any individual person's job to be like, well, I need to educate all of these people. However, standing up for yourself will help the people that come after you. So I've learned, I'm in my 30s. Why am I shying away? Yeah. From why am I making myself less comfortable to make you more comfortable in this scenario? No, you just made me uncomfortable with this statement.
More comfortable in your ignorance.
Yeah, right. Yeah. So you just made me uncomfortable with your ignorance. So now I'm going to pull you right the way into this. I'm going to let you explain yourself. And what happens is digging the ditch and then realizing what they said was not appropriate. Not appropriate. And even if you didn't learn anything, you probably won't repeat it again, because you probably won't want to feel like that.
So how do you train your kids to
we talk about this all the time.
Deal with microaggressive racism?
Because to me, it's more important. As I said, this is England, and in England, you're going to get some direct racism, but most of the racism I've ever had in this country has been always so. You can see it clear as day. But you tell your white friend about it, they won't necessarily see that. We just have an open forum at home just to discuss race issues. We discuss them in front of the children. We talk about microaggressive racism. We talk about ways of dealing with it. We talk about challenging it. I remember my oldest son had an issue in primary school, and my wife had a conversation with said mothers of the child and the child at the same time, and so they all did as a learning experience. And it's like, we're not going to let you feel comfortable in your ignorance at the expense of our comfort, and more so my child's development and sanity, because microaggressive racism is probably more likely to cause you mental issues than the direct stuff. Direct, you're like, okay, them guys, they really don't like me over there, you know? They try to set fire to my house and my car. I'm going to stay over here with these guys. Whereas microaggressive...
So do you think black people's passive docile approach is direct result of dealing with microaggressions from an early age?
Possibly.
No. I think it's more complicated than that. I think that it's hard, because using the UK as an example, you had the adults that came over here. They're only focusing on direct racism, not really so much the microaggressive stuff. You got the kids growing up in the system, but not knowing how to communicate to their parents what was actually happening. Because as we just discussed, this microaggressive word really has only come about, well, in my vocabulary in the last how many years?
Yeah, recently.
So how are you telling your parent that isn't from here, that doesn't really understand the system, this teacher is doing this, or, you know, I'm facing this here or here in this institution, and it's causing me a big problem, when they don't really understand it and you don't have a way of vocalizing it to them. So I think partially, but then you get the same circumstances where those kids reacted and they did too much and they got kicked out of school.
Yeah.
And they look like the bad kids. And it's like, oh no, if you look deep into it, they were facing this every day for 3 months in school. It's just a very complicated issue. I think that now that there is a word for it, and now that we at least recognize it, we have the tool to at least have that conversation with our children, and therefore apply some protection.
So do you think microaggressive racism hurt you more than direct racism?
Easily. Like, I would put, so I've been called the N-word, I've had fights because of race or whatever. No, if you ask me, none of that's ever really, not saying it didn't bother me at the time, but because it's so aggressive and so direct, it's the issue. The issue either gets dealt with, or you run away, or you fight, or whatever happens. And then it's done. Because, you know, okay, these people don't mess with me and I don't mess with these people.
I think the worst thing about microaggressive racism for me is like, it's coming back from work and literally beating myself and saying to myself, why did I even allow this? I should have said this, or I should have said that, or I could have said that.
So now what's it doing? That's why I said your mental health is a state.
It's now messing with my mental, because it's
and what are they thinking?
Bringing it home.
They don't even remember that they said it.
They don't even remember that they said it, because
that's why I'm saying
you couldn't bring it up at the time. And
that's why I'm saying you need to, in my opinion, you need to pull somebody into that uncomfortable circle. You want to put me in this uncomfortable circle? Fine, I'm pulling you right in here with me, because I'm going home one is a big deal. You've gone home and now you're getting angry. Now you're getting angry, like, nah, I can't believe I let him get away with this. But then you start there thinking, well, what could I really have done about it? So no, I'm pulling you into this circle. So when you go home, you're like, you know what, I said this. And then I can't believe he reacted like that. But at least now you've gone home and that's on your brain too. No, I'm not having it. No,
It's literally it's on your brain too. It's not just my problem.
Yeah, it's now your problem. So you're saying, and you're now uncomfortable. If you don't get to the bottom of the issue, you're now carrying that. I'm not carrying it for the both of us no more.
You know where it's very, very visible? On talent shows.
Why?
You see a lot. You know, the Misha B thing. So a lot of
she's aggressive, she's feisty.
Yes, but
she's only getting all that because she's a dark skin.
Should be very.
Bro,
does she know
people
that?
can watch this podcast here. That's probably like the third woman that said that already.
Does she know that? Does she know that?
One day,
you come my way. But it's true. It happens
she got
lot.
She got a lot of stick in the background.
Yeah. And the black contestants are always told stuff.
What's that girl's name?
Ooh, from where?
What was that Dappy's group? What was the group called?
Oh yeah, Talisa.
It was Talisa, wasn't it?
Was she part of Talisa's group? I don't know.
No, Talisa was a judge
and was causing the issues.
Yeah, she's the one that was kind of pushing that.
But a lot of black people get told stuff on these shows that you tone down a bit. What does that mean?
I just think that we have to tackle it direct and head on. And I know that we are, as a people, I'm sick of living for as a people in the sense where what I do, then you have to be responsible for. Right. It's wild. So, but as a people, you're gonna have to tackle it, because otherwise your kids are gonna have to deal with it. And your kids are gonna go crazy because they don't know how to deal with it either if you don't give them the right tools. So I think that it needs to be common for somebody to say something, and out of their ignorance, because ignorance can happen we're probably ignorant in certain things, and then you to be put back, no, that's not right,
in check.
I'm put in check, and that's what we have to take ownership of going forward.
So to the fated black girl, don't be phased out.
No.
If they say you're phased, continue.
Yeah.
Yeah, unless you're actually just acting stink. But
for no reason.
I don't want someone to take this and be like, you know what, no. But if you're well within your rights and you're coming to get these issues, and you need to raise them, because you shouldn't have to. You're dealing with all these other issues, and you have to deal with this on top.
You shouldn't have to tone yourself down to make somebody else feel comfortable in their ignorance.
There you go. And every time you do that, you're kind of eating away at yourself.
You're eating away at yourself. You're compromising your own.
We have so much mental illness in our community, especially in the westernized world. It's just too much.
And then it sort of translates to your day to day. That's why you see black people just policing themselves. Like, oh yeah, tone it down. Oh yeah, don't talk too loud.
Oh, do you know about that? Yeah, bro. There was an example. I can't use the names, and they was talking about new black guys into the place. He's not done anything overly, exerted, but the other black person when they was trying to police him and say, yo, you need to be a bit more quiet.
Yeah, that shit like fucks me off.
And it's one of those ones where...
Sorry.
You're right there. So, no, mind your business, bro. Like, who are you?
Dude.
We need to stop all of that. 2021. I don't want to see any of that. Leave me alone.
Be how you are amongst your family and friends. Obviously, don't be outlandish and, just act a fool. But express yourself in the way that you would express yourself amongst your own people. Yeah. Obviously, there's certain situations for different whatever. But at the same time, I think we've been too accommodating for too long, at the expense of our own sort of mental health, our own.
What about the one where? Sorry, I know with segment's going a bit long, but the one where certain hairstyles are not really acceptable in the workplace.
Yeah, Rasta,
braids. Yeah, not deemed as professional in the workplace. Mm-hmm. These times there, you got the PM not even combing his hair.
This is what I'm saying. Again, it's like those standards. Those standards are basically they're rooted to
Yeah.
The same assumption that white is right and black is
so you need to have your hair straightened. I'm not saying there's anything wrong with that, but what I'm saying is that is the professional look, and if you have anything else, that's not professional. This is not professional. And it's like no. That can't go on. That again is microaggressive racism. What are you doing?
Even when we're talking about speaking proper, being well spoken.
Yeah.
I was speaking to the Blackbird on YouTube, and the Blackbird was saying, was having a conversation, and the Blackbird was basically saying, I basically questioned, like, what do you regard as speaking proper? Who sets the benchmark? And it's all based on Euro standards. Mm-hmm. We don't have no influence on those standards.
I have less of an issue with that. And the reason why I have less of an issue with that is because in the workplace, if you're using English, bro, use English. Like, I the whole code switching scenario, I don't have a problem with. Like, if you are in the workplace, then you are expected to speak a certain way. You're representing that company, like same way you may
professionally.
Professionally, the same way you may be expected to wear a suit if you work in that kind of environment. I don't have a problem with that. Just don't make me not be me. Mm-hmm. Yeah, so cool.
It's been nice talking to you guys.
Feel better now?
Do you feel better?
I'm not angry.
You're the one that had fish and chips on your shoulder. About microaggressive racism.
No, my man, you gotta think about it. You've been dealing with it since you were like a late teenager. I've been dealing with it since about life.
I didn't have to deal with. I didn't have to deal with this until I was about probably 17 or something.
Do you know? I think the saddest thing is, and it does actually upset me, is that when I think about all the microaggressive scenarios that happen, and it's no reflection on my parents, so I'm not throwing them under the bus. I didn't bring most of them home,
Yeah.
You understand that as a child? You have a child.
And that's why even in your older age, sometimes you don't tell your wife when you get violated at work.
You can't violate me at work. I'm gonna get vexed.
No, yeah, but you get what I mean. Certain situations where you think, boy, it emasculates you. Almost.
Oh, I see what you mean. Yeah.
You just shut up about it, but you think to yourself, I should have really told
What's that doing to your mental state?
It's
every time. That's all
diminishing
bad.
Your mental.
So when I look back now and I'm sitting thinking that certain kids were getting battered mentally, bit by bit, just not even big bricks, as little tiny stones. bit by bit to the point when they got to see in school, they're like, "Sure, man, I don't want to be here."
So we need more stealth.
I think
muscle.
I think that I agree, but I think that it starts. Sorry, guys, but I think it starts at home. I think you need to have those conversations. In the way that I see it is, the world outside of your home is a battlefield, and you need to do whatever you can to protect your children or whatever going forward, or the people around you, and therefore. Just have those conversations at home, so make them not alien, so they feel they can speak to you.
All right. I like your jumpers, but can I just say that the purple jumper looks the best?
No, let's not argue about which jumper looks better. You know the yellow one does. Look at it.
And can I just point to the coordination going on here? Purple.
Yeah,
I've been so many places. I've seen so many places, but nothing compares to this blue and yellow, purple hills.
You have to excuse Tinashe. He's been under a lot of stress lately.
Are we done?
Yeah, 45.